Making a response video. This will be a quick one. Yeah, 10 minutes or something. Maybe 15 or 20. Yeah, that's now the definition of a quick video. So anyway, Anti-Bullshit Man is, rightfully a little pissed off because I didn't do a perfect job of paraphrasing his paraphrase and my paraphrase of his paraphrase, doing this whole histrionics of what the argument is about thing. And, I'll agree I was a little sloppy, but it's a long blog, and in my opinion, it is got a lot of, again, it's this rhetoric thing, I don't see this as direct statements. I don't see people making direct arguments. Instead, they're building this big convoluted thing to say, aha, you're a hypocrite. Aha, you said two contrary things. And it's all this I got you manipulation of circumstances. And it just, Tranquil does this all the fucking time. And you people think this is a legitimate way to argue. And you're always forcing people on the defensive to sit there and explain, no, that's not, your interpretation is out of context, your interpretation is implying something that doesn't exist, and so it just pisses me off. So fuck you. So yeah, you're not getting anything you don't deserve. Alright, so I'll read some of the paragraphs out of this, and to give it context. So he was complaining that he never said that, that I said, or whatever, about this whole idea of the, the obligation to do the right thing. So the obligation to force or to impose suffering on, like say, the fact he wouldn't let me impose suffering on myself to rescue whatever 10 assholes from horror. And obviously I think he's wrong in the sense that it doesn't matter whether they're assholes or not. It really doesn't. If it's a fact that they're going to exist, and it's a fact they're going to suffer, and it's a fact that I can undo the suffering, it just goddamn doesn't matter. So anyway, my implication was that he said something about a kid, and that he was making the argument that somehow I was arguing that people should be imposed upon or obligated to do the right thing in circumstances that had no real benefit. And I'll read what he said, because he's, whatever. You can see, whatever. Inmendham believes that mere knowledge of net gain being the sure thing rationally obligates every last one of us to sign up and pay the price. So yeah, I believe that if we know for certain that there's a right, that it will create a net benefit, that's right, we can use you for fertilizer. It just makes sense. I'm just saying, I don't think you could ever write the thought experiment, and if you're going to be honest to the thought experiment, there's no way there's not a right answer to the thought experiment. Okay, especially if you write it with 100 to 1, or 1,000 to 1, or 1,000,000 to 1 benefits. Regardless of how brutal the price may be, yeah, again, and regardless of how huge the benefit might be, so again, you got to keep the benefit at the same as the price. So if you're paying a huge price, it would be for a huge benefit. And regardless of how tiny the net gain measure may be. So see, so this is the sentence that fucked me, because I didn't, regardless of how tiny the net gain measure may be. So he's not saying a net gain that would be below the threshold of a positive, but he's implying that I somehow said that you should rape one skanky whore to save a fine, dignified, good person woman from rape. So if that was the equation, the only difference is one's a skanky slut who probably deserves to get raped because she's an asshole and a thief and a shoplifter and whatever. She beats her kids, whatever thing you want to add on. And the other person is some great person or some other slight value difference that somehow you have an obligation to rape the woman. Now, I'd still say, even in those tiny net gain circumstances, if it's an absolute truth that doing the thing will prevent the greater harm, if that's the absolute truth, well then it's a rational obligation. But I've already conceded the fact that we are subjective apes, and not all of this stuff is something we can do. We can't always be as heroic as we need to be, and it's going to be a burden on our apeness. So that has to be counted as one of the prices that have to be paid, is that we have to do something we don't want to do. And our pain and our suffering now has to be accounted for. If we have to pull the trigger, or we have to push the fat man off the bridge and all that stuff, then we have to live with that. And we might not find that very much fun. And so that has to be added into the equation as one of the prices being paid. But again, all my examples are 10 to 1, 100 to 1, 1,000,000 to 1. We know, again, this is this crap where everybody keeps wanting to take what we can say, the stuff that's way on that side of the fence and way on that side of the fence, and they just want to keep playing with crap right on the edge of the fence. Because they don't want to deal with the fact that we know there's acres of stuff on one side of the fence and there's acres of stuff on the other side of the fence, and we do not have to be sitting there analyzing bird shit that's teetering on both sides. We really, and this is just what you people are doing, you're just focusing on the bird shit on the fence instead of dealing with the fact that we know there's shit on the other side of these fences. There is right and wrong that we can see, we can define, we can establish, and we can state it. Abso-fucking-goddamn-lutely, it's on that side of the fence or it's on that side of the fence. Quit fucking with this reality, you bastards. Quit playing with this bird shit. Alright, anyway. I really want to get to some statements about Piro, but maybe I'll do another bullshit, man. I'll just find a paragraph out of here. So that was this paragraph. I don't want to do this one. Some of these paragraphs are really long. Okay, we'll dump to this one. I don't do it for PR. I generally draw a line of distinction between minors and adults, introspective of the net scale impact. This is critical difference between Inmendham and anti-natos like myself. I don't pay lip service to anything. Well, see these little minor accusations you make. I don't pay lip service to anything. So you're accusing me of paying lip service to something? To concede that we're emotional animals is paying lip service. And you're the one obsessed with bird shit on a fence. And you're going to accuse me of playing games with the truth? No, I'm saying you're playing games with the truth when you imply that I've ever said anything about minor net differences. So fuck you, cunt. I mean, it's just such bullshit for you to complain when you do this shit. If sane, educated adults wish to torture themselves for sports, they can have at it. It's none of my business. Well, again, it is our business. All these, you just, to say it doesn't matter is to say, essentially, it's just, you're advocating the fact that you know better. Okay, and you know how they were created in the first place. So at minimum, which your business is preventing their creation. So again, we're back to that argument. Okay, we can only do so much about what already exists because it costs more money to, like, say, clog a broken well, an oil well. It costs a lot more money to clog a broken oil well than it costs to prevent a new one from being dug, you could argue. So the efficiency is in preventing a bad oil well from being dug, force them to do it right or not at all, or cleaning up the mess is always a lot more expensive. So I go back to, I'll do the Piro one real quick. I won't bother going to the page with the comment. But he made some comment about lotteries and people being that somehow he's just not getting it. It's a reverse lottery. That my argument would be arguing from is that this isn't about denying people or obliging people to play. Denying the benefits of a lottery because because it's distributed, the pain's distributed across a whole bunch of people in a little minor way, and the gain is this big gain. But we know that that's not the reality of procreation. The reality of procreation is a reverse lottery. Okay, it's obligating one person to pay all the price, or a few people, while the other people live on them. And again, the lottery is about not something legitimate. It's not like this lottery money, this good thing that's created, is for some kind of good purpose. It's just for their gluttony, to satisfy their ambition, to satisfy a notion in their head. So again, he used the word kill in an example, like killing. Killing is in a weird moral territory, because when you kill somebody the right way, there's no pain and suffering involved. There's no recognition of their loss of autonomy or loss of anything. So in a sense, you could make it a morally neutral act, a value neutral, and what you really are going to have to examine is what was going to be their future impact on the world, whether they were going to be productive or destructive. Now clearly if they were going to be raping things or doing some other crap, killing them is good. And now you have to measure were they going to be a net asset to the world, or were they going to be a net deficit? Were they going to eat animals and torture them and do all that shit? So that's downside. And let's say they're, so again, the value equation isn't about what they want. It's about what they are. It's about what the properties of their existence would be, whether it would be productive or destructive. So killing is an irrelevant issue in the objective morality sense, outside of the social contract sense, because the social contract is just saying that we all think our ambitions are worthy. But I think under scrutiny we can find that most of our ambitions aren't worthy. We're just hungry and horny, and we're just basically, it's for the sake of gluttony. So again, a gluttony lottery, a lottery for gluttony, okay, for some proposed gain, okay, not to solve a problem, not to fix misery in the world, not to prevent suffering, but to get some proposed whatever, frosting. A frosting lottery at the price of object horror being imposed on a few is not an acceptable ethical lottery. It's unacceptable. It's slavery. It's not ethically, by even a social contract, acceptable. And what I'm saying is on absolute value terms, it's a net loss. So you don't do it. It's silly. It's stupid. It's wasteful. And that's what our whole function is. It's wasteful. And that's the argument underlying all this stuff, is that it'd be really nice if I came up with just this idea of quantum value and it demonstrated something like, oh, how great everything turns out. And here's the math. It'll just demonstrate how we can do this and it'll all turn out okay. But the tragedy of the fact that I'm having to make this argument for objective morality in the context of, well, guess what? When I make the argument, the math doesn't come out very good, because all we can come up with is negative numbers. So you can be a -5 or you can be a -500, but we really can't find any way to make a positive out of this. And so that's the tragedy of the morality and the ethics, the quantum mechanical value equations, are there's no way to make that math come up with a positive number. There's no fake constant you could throw in. There's no, you could cheat, but there's no way to make a legitimate positive number out of the game we're playing. It's not a game capable of producing a positive number. You can only reduce the negative. You can only reduce the depth of the disaster. You can only reduce the number of people harmed. You can't do anything truly productive in this mechanism. But I think it's still, so there's two real things to discuss. There's discussing the fact that we don't need, I mean, again, another issue I want, it's going to require some, because this anti-bullshit man uses this line, I'm going to do it again without pointing to the exact quote, but he implies again that there's no police that are going to arrest you, and so therefore it's somehow not a moral question. But of course it is. You don't need to get arrested, you don't need to be judged by anybody to have committed a bad act, to have been unproductive, to have been destructive. So all these things don't require you to get caught, they don't require police. So these assholes who think there's nobody who's going to punish me, well, that's not what it's about. It's not whether you're going to get punished or not. Okay? It's about whether you will be productive or destructive, whether you will be a net benefit in the equation or a net loss in the equation. And so, yeah, maybe that doesn't bother you to be called a shithead and an asshole and a waster, a squanderer of sentient welfare. Maybe that doesn't bother you any, but I'm just saying the fact is that's all we're working for, is a statement that will be written on our little piece of the universe saying this thing sucked or this thing was good. You'll either be in that category, or you'll either be in the good category or the shithead category. You'll either be in the waste category, the waster category, or the maker category. However you want to, you're going to be in one of those categories. And yes, it's not going to matter. You're not going to be tortured. You're not going to suffer. You're not going to be punished. Okay, something will be. Something will pay the price for your lack of productivity, for your destructiveness. Something will be the victim of your destructiveness. So they'll certainly pay the price, which is the same difference in a way. But you're too stupid to understand that anyway, because you don't get that the other consciousnesses are just as important as you, and that it doesn't matter who has the broken leg, right? You can't get those simple concepts, so you can't get the idea that the justice is ultimate, in the sense that your kind will be harmed. Your people will be harmed. Your family will be harmed. That kind of thing. That will be the punishment, is that what you did was hurt something of equal value to yourself, therefore you suck. But anyway, that's... So yeah, this all does have to be written. I mean, maybe we all have to do the stupid hop-to-the-day models or something. But yeah, this does have to be deliberately gone through step by step, just to point out that I'm not making an argument for a god or a cop or a judger or a book reader at the end of the universe that says, tisk, 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 those humans were failures, weren't they? No, that's not going to happen. But we're going to be failures nonetheless. So, enough of the video.